Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 8 of season 5 of The Walking Dead called Coda. This is our mid-season finale, and sure enough, in terms of stuff hitting the fan, this episode does not disappoint. A lot of people have been predicting, of course, that somebody was going to die here in the mid-season finale, and Beth was basically at the top of a lot of people's lists for who it was going to be. And just in terms of storytelling, yeah, it kind of made sense that Beth was going to die here, especially with so much attention being paid to her recently. And it's also kind of been hinted at due to Emily Kinney on her social media posting a lot of stuff about her music career, kind of indicating that she's going to have a lot more time to focus on that now that she's not on Walking Dead anymore. So, yeah, I'm definitely sad to see Beth go. She was actually one of my favorite characters on the show. Honestly, Beth seems to be a very polarizing character. People either really like her or they really hate her. And I like Beth simply because she was somebody who it took her a while to get there, but she ultimately ended up being from just a sort of a weak-willed teenager to somebody who was genuinely a strong person, but she didn't become a hard person. She was not someone who let the world get her down. She still believed that there was good in people. There was good in the world. I guess a way to look at it is to say sort of Beth had turned into someone who was very like Tyrese. Somebody a good person, a strong person who could survive out there, who would do what was necessary to survive, but would not be cruel about it. Someone who still had that capacity for kindness and love and generosity. And this it definitely cost her, but Beth went down like a trooper. Now, a lot of people I've seen kind of speculating, did Beth know that she was going to die when she stabbed Dawn? Well, I have a feeling that yeah, she knew that she was basically sacrificing herself to save Noah from Dawn. But although you have to wonder, like, why did she stab Dawn in the shoulder rather than in the throat? But yeah, I don't know, maybe just the angle of whatever from where she was standing. Like, who knows? Okay. But what's really great is this episode is that we see Dawn really continues to get fleshed out this episode in both good and bad terms. But what's really important here is that Beth sees through Dawn. She sees that Dawn is trying to manipulate her, and that she doesn't buy it. She does not for a minute believe that Dawn is really on her side. And if you look back, everything Dawn does, you can see it. As soon as Dawn has acknowledged that Beth is somebody who's strong, and she starts trying to win Dawn to her side. She says, like, hey, I covered up for you. What do you think the others would do to you if they found out you'd killed a cop? You're a cop killer. I mean, never mind the fact that the cop was trying to rape her. And, which is made even more hilarious when just a little bit while later when she's talking with O'Donnell, she's like lambasting him for like, ha, you were laughing when Gorman was raping that girl. Never mind the fact that Dawn allowed Gorman to rape Joan because it made him happy. And then it kind of goes into talking about what happened with her mentor who had been in charge at the hospital previously. And we only kind of get Dawn's point of view on that, but basically you have to wonder, was this guy really, unfit to be in charge, or did Dawn's control freak tendencies just just overwhelm her to the point where she's like, I have to kill this person that I admire so much because I'm the only one that can really run this situation. And if that's what happened, well, you can't stage a coup without needing some other people to support you. And it kind of would make sense that she would take whoever she could easily get on her side. And if you do, go out looking for easy allies, well, you're probably not going to have the most moral of people to choose from. So it sort of makes sense that people like Gorman and O'Donnell, as long as Dawn sort of maybe gave them extra privileges or just sort of looked the other way on their misdeeds, like Gorman's whole raping Joan thing, that they'd be willing to support her. So Dawn would have a core of people around her who she was reasonably certain to a degree would be loyal to her, but who she was not foolish enough to put her 100% trust in. As we see here with O'Donnell, that would not have been a good idea. So Dawn had this sort of balancing act going on. They had the other cops, like basically the good police officers who didn't like Dawn and didn't like the way she was running things, but needed her in order to help ensure their own survival. And then you had guys like O'Donnell and Gorman who didn't like Dawn, but she ran the show and kind of kept it so that they could have most of what it is they wanted. So I guess in a way you could kind of look at it as I think Robb Stark making an alliance with Walder Frey. Everything worked out until it didn't, and then everything went to hell. And I think that guys like Gorman and O'Donnell were sort of the Walder Frey of this situation, and which I suppose casts Dawn as Robb Stark, but well, being too honorable was Robb's downfall, and renouncing everything that she had, turning against everything that she had sworn to uphold, serve, and protect, the Constitution, the laws. That's what really turned Dawn into a villain. But again, we sort of see her trying to sort of get Beth on her side because she's realized Beth is smart, Beth is strong, and nobody but me really sees it. So Beth is kind of like a hidden weapon, is what Dawn is trying to get out of Beth here. And as soon as Dawn stops being useful, then she would have been out. And Beth's last words sum it up. I get it now. Dawn is all about using people to get what she wants, and as soon as they're no longer useful, they're on the scrap heap. So, and again, it's also she sees that Dawn is really just this big control freak. I mean, the deal's done, everybody's getting ready to walk away. There's no need for it. But Dawn insists on getting Noah in the deal. And this is actually a classic negotiation tactic. When you see business people do it all the time. They'll spend hours and hours negotiating back and forth, blah, 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 blah. And then as they pack up and everybody's getting ready to leave, somebody will go like, oh, hey, there's just one more little thing. And they're just kind of hoping that the other person will go like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. And it's just basically like, let's see if I can get one more little morsel for pretty much nothing. And here, when Dawn says, I knew you'd be back, that just shows you. She calls Noah her ward. Noah's really a slave, and he knows it, she knows it, and Dawn and Beth totally knows it. And just looking at Dawn there, with that big arrogant smile on her face, the control freak tendency satisfied, it's so clear to Beth. It's not, if Noah stays there, he ain't gonna last long. Life is gonna be just complete living hell for him. And after only being at that hospital for a little while, getting a taste of what things are like there, no way is Dawn gonna subject somebody who had helped her and been kind to her, a good person, to that. If that means sacrificing her life to save him and take Dawn out of the picture once and for all, hell yeah, Beth Greene's gonna do that. Because Beth's a tough one. She earned that journey that she went on. And she did die doing something heroic and noble. And yeah, you do feel a little bit sorry for Dawn at the end of it all. You get the impression that she was like a lot of people. Somebody who, before everything went to hell, probably was a good person. Not a perfect person. But that's the thing about these zombie apocalypse stories is how much of your soul are you willing to trade away in order to survive? Dawn traded away too much and became just as bad as the people, in a lot of cases even worse, the people that she used to lock up when she was a cop. And it takes a teenage girl with a good heart and a mountain of guts to do what a small army of other cops couldn't do or wouldn't do. They do say that all it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have just seen a perfect example of that. I mean, a lot of what we've seen that we are quite clearly seen that not all the cops are bad. Like the female officer who was taken hostage, she's presented as nothing but a reasonable person. And when Dawn tries to take Noah back, she does briefly object, and it's kind of implied a little bit that apparently she's going to take over from Dawn as the cop in charge. And the people at the hospital even offer to let Rick and the other survivors stay there. Totally unsurprising that they decide to pass on that. But it does give you at least a little bit of hope that maybe the hospital can be turned into a place where people can genuinely get help, where there might be a little bit of hope left. It might be the only place in Atlanta that even has any real degree of hope left. And it's possible because of Beth. Now, I have seen one or two people online like, hey, why did Rick stick up for Noah like that? He barely knows this kid. Well, doubtlessly Rick would have questioned Noah extensively about what is going on at the hospital, and Noah would have been happy to go on at length about what an awful person Dawn was. And keep in mind, Rick knows that even some of the cops that serve under Dawn don't like her and don't like the way that she does things. So, as ruthless as Rick has become, he's still more or less a good guy. And handing somebody like Noah back to somebody who's just basically going to continue to enslave him and probably, at best, beat the living hell out of him in very short order? Rick Grimes ain't going to stand for that. And it all kind of comes back to what happens like when he, what was the dude's name? Hang on, I got it here. Lamson, yeah. Bob Lamson, the cop that Rick hits with the police car at the beginning of the episode, who's played by the dude who was Jasper Sitwell on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and in Captain America Winter Soldier. So that was kind of cool. I didn't recognize the guy. I'm like, have I seen this somewhere before? I don't know. I think he might have lost some weight since he played Sitwell. But in any case, Rick nails the guy with the car. There's a moment where you're sort of wondering if Rick is going to just leave him to be devoured by the walkers. And then Rick shoots him. And he says, what was it exactly? You can't go back, Bob. First of all, this has been a terrible season on Walking Dead to be named Bob. And of course, that whole you can't go back thing is something that Gareth had said to other Bob. And that's really sort of the whole theme that's going on with Dawn. Dawn thinks that somehow the world is going to snap back to the way it was and that all she has to do is hold on. Even though anybody with an ounce of sense can see that that's nothing but a delusion. And Rick can't go back to being Farmer Rick. That just ain't happening. Too much has happened since the prison for that to ever be possible. Now he has to be extremely ruthless Rick. But what I like about what's going on here with this side of Rick is that it sort of sets up some of the places where Rick goes as a character once the Washington, D.C. storyline kicks in. And do remember, I do read the comics. I've read up through the conclusion of the All-Out War storyline. And so I know about the rather surprising thing that Rick does at the end of that. And if you look at where Rick is now, and where he is after the end of the All-Out War story from the comics, it's an interesting transition, but one that I think it does make sense for Rick. I mean, Rick's a guy who's always going highs and lows, one extreme to the other, trying to find that medium, but every time he thinks he gets himself into a place where he's comfortable, things go to hell, and he's got to go out there and, shoot some people. In any case, I did like that Rick, even after Beth died, basically didn't flip out and try and kill the people in the hospital. I mean, granted, he knew that if he did that it was going to just be a bloodbath for everybody. And I think he did genuinely believe the female officer. There's like, okay, it was about her. We got no more beef with you people. Now, the other character who I think had some big stuff going on in this episode was Father Gabriel. And I kind of feel sorry for everybody who's around Gabriel. He's like the dude in an RPG who joined your party at level 1 when you're like level 17. It's just like, I am going to have to carry you until you level up sufficiently that you can survive to some degree on your own. And even then, sometimes when you get those sort of characters are like, screw them. But Father Gabriel is an important character in the comics, and with Beth gone, I think we are going to need somebody around who can sort of be that moral center. And, as much as Tyrese does sort of fill that role to a degree, I think having a more innocent person around, I think that really sort of serves it better than he does. And it's also an interesting journey because that kind of puts Gabriel on the same path that Beth did. A very weak person who's going to be making a journey to becoming a stronger person. But it's not going to be an easy one. And of course, this episode, Gabriel ends up, finding what's left of original Bob's leg, getting a real idea of just how horrible people out in the world have become. And then he gets that whole terribly ironic moment of, basically being out there begging to be let into his own church while zombies descend on the place. Wow. Of course, this also means that the church is out as a base of operations. I would be really kind of disappointed if the gang don't set the place on fire on their way out, just to sort of like, okay, let's just make absolutely sure these walkers are going to be done. Then again, we have seen that setting walkers on fire does not necessarily put them down for the count, even though, the brain is made out of flesh and will melt. But, rule of scary. We also get to have a nice moment of, Abraham and the crew coming back to help save the day, and Michonne going absolutely berserker on some walkers. Cool stuff there. It's always fun to watch Michonne slice and dice walkers. And we also get to see briefly Maggie acknowledge the fact that her sister has been missing for God only knows how long. Of course, this all ends in tears. And of course, it is quite fitting that Daryl is the one who killed Dawn, but I don't really have too much to say about Daryl in this episode beyond that. I was never... Well, basically, guys, I've said I don't really do shipping, so. And oh yeah, Morgan, man. It was definitely awesome to see Morgan again. I mean, it's always awesome to see Morgan, especially now that he's not completely crazy anymore. And we did have that nice scene of him be at the school, then him going to the church, and we assume probably saying a little prayer for his wife and son, and then he finds the map with Rick Grimes' name on it. Yeah, I have a feeling that they're setting things up so that Morgan will probably turn up towards the end of the season, and then depending on how things go, the actor's availability and fan reaction and all that, maybe upping Morgan to a regular next season. Which, considering everything that happens to the gang in DC, we've talked about Negan and all this other stuff. Yeah, having Morgan around would be really, really helpful because Morgan's a badass, and Rick and the gang are going to need all the badasses they can get when they get to DC because, yeah, bad stuff and hard times are awaiting them there. And yeah, guys, that's all I have for you this time around. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.